So maybe just getting a few more details. What I was kind of thinking was like, whatever we have on the board here is basically what we will take out to the firms. So to say, we need this, this, and this. This is our budget. This is our timeline. And yeah, that's basically it. So we also could talk about any other details like who, if we have any specific names for companies in mind, if anybody knows any of that. Like if it's, we want to get a certain amount of bids in, so any details like that. So I don't know exactly where to start.
I want this marketing firm, whoever they are, to be humming and bumping by the time next tourism season rolls around. So I think they need to have a plan working and in place by at least late March of next year, maybe April.
Earlier.
Earlier. I would love earlier, but I know it's going to take them a little time.
For sure.
How long do these things take typically?
Well, it's a year-round thing, so it's again, it's not like, oh, it's tourism season, let's start marketing to tourism. Trinidad's again starting, you know, kind of from the ground up with an awareness stage for tourism. So being able to use the winter months and advertise for our summer season here, you know, because it's all going to take time and to get all this stuff done. So I mean, as soon as we decide on this, I think we should, whatever the means that we get an RFP in, get it done, decide, get it approved from council, and that's all like probably takes till the end of the year, I would guess.
I'm guessing, is then that they'll probably start working on it in
January 1st?
February.
I would say January 1st if we can.
And I think it could be sooner than that.
If
You think so? Okay.
Okay.
Well, I can kind of talk to you about the RFP timeline.
Please.
So,
Yes.
as soon as we have the scope of work, which is what I would need from you all, and I like Joe's suggestion of project timeline, those types of things. We have our RFP template, so we would plug the scope into that. We have some pretty standard evaluation criteria that we've used for professional services that we can certainly run by you. We would want to have the RFP hit the streets. We have to advertise it in a newspaper of general circulation in town. But it also will get picked up by national procurement agencies who make a living out of having a subscriber service so people can get notified of these things. So for example, the golf course RFP that we just did, we didn't directly send it to anybody, but we got interest from 4 national firms, and it was all over the internet. But so we want to keep the RFP out on the streets and give them about 30 days to respond to it. And then from there, the evaluation, I would say, would take, we want to give the panel, which would be you all, probably a good couple of weeks to read them, score them, and then we would do a meeting at one of your regular meetings to look at the scores, and if you all confirm that the person who received the highest score is the one you want to go with, at that point we either accept their budget, negotiate their budget. That's probably another month process. So I would say 2 months from the time the RFP hits the streets to awarding the contract. And as soon as the contract's signed, they're good to go to get started. So we could, theoretically, let's say we have a September 1st issuance date for the RFP. By end of November, we could have them started and on the contract already.
Okay, that's, because I know our budget was already set for this year, so that's something that.
Yeah, there's a line item for marketing and advertising that it's in our budget paperwork, and I forget what the balance is on that, but it is, I think originally it was $125,000 that was put into it. So we have money in this year's budget, and then anything else above and beyond that can be again supplemented by the reserves. So it's certainly within the policy scope and the budget that's allocated for this year.
Great, and like, I don't know how it works for municipalities, but generally, marketing firms, they just have a monthly retainer.
Okay.
Like you'll sign like a 1-year contract, and that's maybe, I don't know, $10K a month.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at it like that, it doesn't sound as painful as $100K.
Yeah, I was also thinking about that, like, it's probably not a lump sum up front.
Yeah.
There'll be some level up front, and then some of it could be hit next year's budget.
Whoever it is probably used to contracting with government. So what we do is we'll issue a purchase order, which is the commitment of the funding, and we don't pay for services until after they're rendered.
Mhm.
So they would invoice us usually on a monthly basis within that 30. So we definitely would want a total cost and have that committed in the budget for the project. But as far as spending it down, you're correct, it would be probably monthly invoices that we'd be paying as they do the work.
Cool.
Just to follow up on some budgetary items real quick. I did have the digital billboard people email me back
Okay.
and say, oh, are you guys going to renew your contract, and I told them no.
Okay.
So we probably need to follow up on the billboard. I did the digital billboard people, but the other billboard people. And then we probably need to follow up on those magazines that we also chose to not renew as well. And then that would probably give us enough wiggle room within the budget as well. And then also looking up at any upcoming contracts or print ads that we don't love. Or that don't really have our slogan, because like Ashley was always one of saying, we can always do them again later.
Yeah, I would say.
Maybe we can start getting some room in our budget this year for this RFP, and we can have it actually coming and starting to get going in, like you said, November, so they could actually start in December, and then we can have them working at least with us for 6 months. By the time tourism season comes along, we can really have this going.
Yeah, so I think pretty much blanket non-renewal should be the policy, because I think we should defer to the firm, and if they want to work print in as
Yeah,
part of this,
absolutely.
then they should. But it's part of a comprehensive marketing plan that they are putting together.
Yeah, I agree. Since we're having such a hard time seeing any contract, any ad at this point, and the few ones we have seen, the quality has not been up to the standard it should be.
Yeah, I really hate those QR codes that are so small that you can't even use them. Yeah, it's really frustrating to see.
So I agree with that, Joe, and defer to our firm, who's our partner, who instead of,
Us piecemealing this
yeah,
situation.
they have a comprehensive view, and they do this with municipalities and whoever for a living, and then most of it will probably go to digital, but then a portion could go to others, maybe even billboards and magazines.
Yeah,
but-
I'm writing that down right now, but with the caveat that it's if they recommend it.
Yeah,
Yeah, if they recommend it.
I got a question regarding timeline. How does this dovetail in with Project Blueprint? Because are we getting the consulting hours, is that in January, and will that have any bearing
So
on
it
what
looks-
it is that we're?
It looks like the consulting hours will start in 2024. So we can start getting it going, and then we can kind of work everybody in tandem together, to be all partners together.
Sure.
And being that when I looked at the Project Blueprint, they actually mark it out secondarily with other marketing firms.
Okay.
So it's basically would be one marketing firm working with another marketing firm and getting the right people in the right place doing the right thing.
That is to know if a lot of what Project Blueprint is, we're trying to align with what Colorado's doing overall. Is that gonna have any bearing on what it is that we put in the RFP? Are we gonna get our bid and go, oh yeah, we want to use this company, and then we get consulting hours and we're like, oh shit, we forgot to do this.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of part of
RFP,
I do.
you know, what I mean?
Well, I guess if we're accepting a bid from one company and
No, it's
going,
good, you're good, yeah.
if they don't have the capacity to do something that maybe Project Blueprint says, oh, you ought to do this, we just add it in, right?
We could probably just negotiate it with them, put out a different RFP, right?
Yeah,
After
yeah,
they
yeah.
come out, because that's not gonna come out until June of next year.
Okay.
So then at June of next year, we can always reassess,
Okay.
right?
Okay, I just want to make
If
sure.
you wanted to do a one-off project that was outside of the scope of the proposal in the contract we have with our marketing and advertising firm, we can either do that as a one-time expense, maybe with a local firm, or we could do an amendment to the contract and just add that as a service.
Just reassess.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think that working with the marketing firm would be a constant reassessment, making sure that they're doing exactly what's working. And let's be
Yeah,
honest,
that's how these go typically. We'll probably have maybe monthly checkups or whatever we choose, to get more information updated and be like, this is what's working, this is what isn't, and then you reassess,
This in.
realign, and then you just keep doing that always, so you continue to.
And that'll be part
and
of
let's be honest, if we don't, if we
That'll be
get
part
somebody,
of,
or start working with
social
someone and
media.
we don't like them, or they're not delivering the results that we feel like we can get, and they're not meeting the goals that we've set out, we just choose to not renew the contract, and we send out another RFP, and we just choose to not work with them anymore, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if they don't do a good job, let's not work with them.
With Tabor, the money has to be recommitted every year, so the city can't enter into a contract that binds us into a future fiscal cycle. So the maximum that we would be stuck with anyone would be for a year. But keep in mind, we're only paying for the services they're providing at our direction. So it would be, if they did something that we didn't authorize, we have no commitment to pay for that. And I always like to put a provision, that agreement that would allow us to terminate the contract within 90 days at our discretion anyway.
right?
That's every marketing contract,
Yeah.
pretty much, it's pretty standard.
Yeah, so.
All right, well then, at our next meeting, maybe we should put on the agenda to vote to put out an RFP. And we
Agreed.
should also put on the agenda to terminate all existing contracts as they come up, so that we run a clean slate for 2024, and we do what is, we have it all just go through one marketing firm, so everything
Yeah.
looks and
Also
is-
agree, I think that's the right move.
Okay. All right, whew.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know we could do that, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's much easier than us doing this one at a time.
One at a time.
It'll just save us even more time.
Absolutely, yeah.
but yeah,
Every
just
minute
say-
counts these
It
days.
does.
yeah. And then that would allow us to be able to put everything into the firm.
No, everything new that comes out will be consistent.
That's,
Yeah.
when I had spoke to multiple council people, when they were looking for, to talk about putting people to the board, and that's, they were all looking for a consistent marketing plan. And everything looking and smelling the same, and just being one, instead of this piecemeal kind of situation that's been going on for a decade.
Absolutely.
Because let's be honest, the piecemeal situation has not worked.
In my dream world, when we were issuing grants for using the lodging tax, we would have had already a prescribed campaign that we would have asked the grant recipients to get on board with and match that and use the branding and logo. So to Lee's point, it would all be consistent. And I think that's absolutely where we should head. So for the next agenda, I just want to make sure I'm tracking everything that we talked about. So I have mission statement approval.
Okay.
Discussion of Allison's request, and she's gonna get us, I think, some fine-tuned numbers. Termination of existing contracts, and then a request for funding for Space to Create, to start talking about maybe some upgrades here. And then is there anything else that I'm missing?
Was RFP on there?
Oh, sorry, RFP, yes, I got that right.
Okay.
RFP.
I think that's enough for another agenda, unless, I know Ashley did talk about putting,
Public comment.
public comments.
So, yeah, I mean, that's up to you all. What, you always can take written comments as well, so that's certainly appropriate. But if it's somebody that wants to come present a specific idea, I would say put them on the agenda as an item. But if it's just a general public forum, you guys can grab that
I
item.
mean, I didn't, he did ask for, I think he has a specific
Request.
idea or pitch, I'm not 100% sure. He said, I have an idea, he was talking about reading.
I've had a lot of community members coming up and they're complaining about certain things that the previous board has done, certain ads they've seen, particularly the billboards.
It's not a complaint, I do know that, it's a request.
And so it's one of those things that's kind of like, you know, we're, we've only been out this, oh my god.
I know, exactly, yeah.
I think it's a request or suggestion.
And then we also have pending a presentation from Anissa.
Yes, Anissa.
Yeah.
That seems like it could fit in there, because it sounds like we're just gonna be doing a lot of voting
Yeah, I think it's just
on,
A lot of
Is that
ratifying
today?
larger decisions, so.
which then that would also probably cover the logo type stuff too, that
Okay.
Okay,
we removed from
I think
today.
that's plenty for our
And
next.
then, yeah, and then we'll stop.
I think we have old business though, that, which I mentioned when we came in today, which is like, what's going on with the tagline
Mhm.
situation and also Jason's digital campaign. So
Digital.
those things are out there in limbo right now, and I would like to get an update on how we can keep them moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, the digital campaign needs to like happen, or not right now, or it's not.
Or it's not going to.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that we need to always keep old business, you know,
Yeah.
whatever's new goes on to hold until it's done. Because I hate seeing stuff, to your point, fall off.
Yeah, well, because then we're just not getting things done.
We never get anything done, yeah, we just talk about it.
So, for example, though, I don't think that we can take this RFP out until we know what that tagline is.
I think we can probably put our RFP out while we're doing the tagline at the same time, since it's
Well,
been
sure,
about
we
2
can't
months.
start the work. There's some built-in buffer time there, but,
I think we can get it done by the,
I think if we can get council approval, I think we can get it done.
Sure.
and also just assume that a lot of things take longer than they should, you know?
Sure.
and another 1 or 2 months in there of just
Yeah.
city procedures, delays, not being able to get on agendas and that kind of stuff. I would be pretty surprised if we were ready to start and didn't have a tagline ready.
Yeah.
We should
I mean, and we can always, in
get that going.
as a placeholder until the city chooses a tagline, use the Colorado, just do Trinidad right until we get our actual Trinidad tagline. If we do Trinidad right and then put our tagline, that would be an easy quick fix into there. And then that puts us in line with what the state's doing, which allows us to apply for it.
Yeah.
But I think it's the coolest thing ever.
Right.
That I mean,
Right, it's something.
is something in the meantime. So.
And I think we had talked about it some last time with you, Steve.
Yeah.
Maybe it was in Anissa we were gonna work with and just get something out, which then would also go to the
Sorry, get
press
something out for
and then be about the tagline.
Oh,
Or
yeah,
just
yeah,
about how
yeah,
we
we can
get-
work through NISA.
How we get, I think that's what you might have mentioned last time.
Yeah.
And then it could also go to like the Chronicle and
Yeah.
a few other places to kind of get the process started.
Yeah, honestly, I think the timeline will happen once it starts getting going. I think it's gonna be fun, and I think it's gonna move quick. Because I mean, the Chronicle's already done an article on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and since Anissa will be at your next meeting and we'll be having a discussion on tagline, let's just corner her there and just get the program going.
And did we get council approval for that one?
Yeah, they're fine with moving forward. on
Yeah, that one's ready to go.
That one's ready to
It's they still need to
Approve the
approve
monies.
budget.
Yeah, I guess
and
it
then
wasn't
all
on the last.
It's not, that's approved, I forgot to mention
Is
that.
it?
to you all
Okay.
this
Is
morning.
it
Yeah.
Oh, that's approved.
Yeah, we're good to go.
So I
There
can
was
get
no
it
budget
started.
adjustment required for that,
Okay.
because we already had it in the line item that it needs to be in, so we're ready to get started on that.
Oh, let's get started.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll follow up with you and Anissa.
Okay, yeah, please do.
And I'll get started.
right away.
I gotta go fast.
All right,
Excellent.
cool. Well, anything
Well,
else on
this-
RFP?
this is great, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
this is great.
And then we do have, as part of this same agenda item, I'm sorry, I'm taking your chair duties.
Dude, well, here's my thing, it does not hurt my feelings at all.
Just trying to make sure we stay on the agenda too. Is the lodging tax increase, so that's the second half of this hour. And that's the last thing we have to talk about. Yeah.
So, lodging tax increase. We don't know if it's really gonna happen, right, Steve? I mean, it's all up to the voters.
It's all up to the voters, so the council is gonna move forward with that as a ballot question, which should show up on their next agenda to do the formal resolution to submit that question to the voters. And then it's all from there about whether or not the voters approve it. The city can't actively campaign for or against a ballot measure.
Can we?
No, I think you're part of the city.
Okay.
So, but we can provide general information. So we will be doing that. Anissa's she's already working on some material that speaks to no direct tax increase to you, how it works, what it'll fund. Those are the types of things that we can do. However, I am happy to announce that the Trust for Public Lands wants to come and support a campaign to promote it. They're very, like I said, they're very excited about it and they see the benefits, so they'll probably do some marketing. Private citizens certainly, you all can certainly, as an individual, advocate for it, but not as a representative on the lodging tax advisory board.
Okay, so just say I made a promotional flyer or something.
You can't do that.
I think you could do that, but it can't in any way say city or lodging tax advisory board. or
Yeah,
representative
of course.
board.
Yeah.
Or that's you personally.
Question, you said what organization is gonna support?
The Trust for Public Lands.
What's in it for them? Why are they?
Their
They-
investigation of that holiday.
Yeah, we've engaged them to do some land acquisition on the old Swordfish Trail,
Oh.
but they are
They
a
also
huge,
have the park.
yeah, exactly. They're a nonprofit who specializes in outdoor recreation, and
Okay.
they really are eyeing Trinidad, and so their whole mission is to support local governments in providing world-class outdoor recreation opportunities.
And then Anissa says what the lodging tax is gonna be used for. What does she say it's gonna be used for? Just more tourism stuff?
Yep, we'll highlight what's in the ordinance and the buckets that we have established there and be specific about some of the things that we can use it for.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that'll be important, and information and sharing it, and this could be a print flyer campaign around here. I mean, I think it's extremely important
Yeah.
for us, and it
Yeah.
really shouldn't be controversial. We just need to explain to the citizens,
So-
make it unbelievably clear that they will not pay anything, and here's the type of things that you can receive from this, like will receive, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, maybe we could, I mean, like Steve said on our very first meeting, that one of the number one things that the community asked for was aquatic center.
Yep.
So I mean, if we did receive enough money through lodging tax, that we could potentially do some sort of measure. like that.
Specifics are good, don't talk in generalities, but be like, if this is approved,
Yeah.
We could,
Man,
we could
that's-
have the
the aquatic
potential.
center.
I don't know about going that far, because that's,
Yeah.
like, once you get down to the realities, if things don't
True.
shake out that way,
You
then
get
people say,
mad.
you promised this shit, and
It's
I'm
true.
gonna give you the fruit now.
And they just
Yeah, I was
want you
just
to
saying,
dig a
how much is
hole.
it?
Yeah,
That was
yeah, right,
Yes.
and dig yourself a hole like that. So,
fair enough.
so yeah, I just would, if you are talking specifics, it has to be pretty much already a done deal. So, yeah, it's just, you gotta be kind of cautious. So I would focus on there's still tangible benefits, and I think this ties into where you were going, Ashley, in terms of like quality of life stuff, because you need to tie it back to like, an increase in lodging tax revenue means people are here spending money, not just at a hotel, but everywhere in town, right? And so, like, getting people in here is a net benefit to everybody, because they're out here buying stuff, you know?
The same as convincing the general public that tourism is important, and not everybody buys into that, because they see it, some people see it as a nuisance, and what's the benefit to them?
Sure.
And it's the same, it's really the same like talking points.
Yeah.
I think what I've heard from some of the Airbnb owners that have come to my shop and decided to give me their opinions, they are concerned that if they increase the lodging tax for it, they'll have to decrease their rates. Because we're already having a hard time filling Airbnbs since the legalization of cannabis.
Hey, tell them to try renting them out to families.
Yeah,
I,
I personally have no sympathy for their.
I understand the qualm, but there are also people who are contributing to this tax.
Yeah.
So we have to.
As a whole, it will hit everyone as a whole, so that like arguments,
And then their thing is,
Yeah, that
why,
was the rest too, right?
you know?
and then their other thing was, well, the board has been completely ineffective. Well, why should I give them more money? And I'm like, well, we are a board, we are doing something different, we do have some plans. So I think that's another thing that we can kind of, a talking point that
With the ordinance changes too.
Right, that's brand new.
the ordinance changes are new, it's a new board, but that was their thing is, they've historically seen it as a poor steward of money. And why should we give poor stewards of money more money? So.
I get that. I wish if that were true, they would have gone to some of the previous tourism board meetings and told them that.
Right?
So, but
Well,
That's
this is,
usually my first question when I see people, nobody's doing anything, I just wanna jump on there and be
Right.
like, have you been to a council meeting
it's so,
lately?
it's so Trinidad.
When
They
is
say
it?
it's not doing it,
Yeah.
and then, well, what do you?
And complaining. That's what
Yeah.
I do. I complain.
Exactly, that's how it goes, but
Yeah.
don't-
well, and I think the other thing that I think is really important for us to do is some semblance of a public forum about all of our ballot measures. So we'll have another question about taking the landfill away as an enterprise fund because it's not receiving enough revenue to support itself, for example. But I think it's really important that we have a question and answer session. So hopefully folks from the Airbnb community can come in and you all can be there and we can help answer some of those questions about how it would be used.
But in that situation, we can't advocate, we
Can't
can only
advocate,
just
but we can
answer
certainly-
questions, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I would love to do that, and I
That's
just
so
love a little
true.
bit more information before I did that,
Just
'cause-
get back to the smile.
yeah, okay.
That's how you do it.
On a similarly related topic, what do the hotel owners think about the tax increase?
They're putting together a loose group or maybe a tighter group of like a hotel kind of association.
Coalition?
Yeah, Exactly, and so I think that is something that it would be good for the city, you all, someone to outreach to them and get their feedback on this as well. When the legislation is passed to call for the ballot question, that's also an opportunity for someone to come to the council meeting and express any concerns they have with it at that time as well. But this isn't certainly to punish the hotels. If they came and said adding $3 for every $100 spent at a hotel is gonna mean everyone's just gonna drive right through Trinidad and not stay here, we would definitely perk up and listen to that. So their feedback is very important.
As a soon-to-be hotel owner by the end of the year, I know Keely and I are huge advocates for it because we're so unbelievably low in our rate, and even doubling it changes $3 in a booking. It's so minuscule that no one will know the difference, and most places are 15, 20 to 25% right now. I mean, even our neighbors, you know, where a lot of them might be on their way to. So it's just something that it's going to have zero impact.
Right.
You know, from a marketer and a hotelier standpoint, I only see it as a benefit to the community.
I worked in hotels before I moved here.
Yeah.
For years and years, and that is very, very low.
Yeah, I think that's maybe even like the
It's
number
a
one
talking
talking
point so people know.
Yeah, just to be like, listen guys, like
And the normal person doesn't know that.
even comparable cities, we're way below.
But listening to this,
Yeah,
first,
of
that
course.
even get the original tax to establish, a tourism board, I think it failed twice. So Trinidad is a tough town for any change, any tax increase. And when you look historically with Tabor increases, I think they had that article in the paper, a lot of tax increases don't pass, even if they would. I mean, they didn't even pass the last one for just, increasing money to the schools for the children.
Yeah, the mill levy gets go through.
So it's
So
gonna be a tough sell.
Steve, will it be written on the ballot? Because obviously it'll say, lodging tax increase, which will probably then, make everyone's hairs go up. But will it be written that says this will not be paid by the residents of Trinidad, but to tourists only?
Yeah, there are legal requirements for how the ballot question has to be proposed, but we're looking into that, and we would love to have it at least allude to or have a statement that this won't affect your personal taxes.
Yeah.
Are local ballot questions in that big blue book?
Correct.
They say
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Can we put more information in there that we can't put in a ballot question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they always have a for and against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if it just says, do you want it passed, and there's no information, that's fine, not gonna.
I mean, I think it would be huge for Trinidad, not only in the stance of being able to market it better, but also because this, our budget's now broken up into different things with the quality of life, with arts and culture, with being able to do city staffing with it, that I think that it would be really beneficial for the community as a whole. But I think maybe we need to talk about, being able to use those money to sell to the community. We need really to probably talk about the quality of life. Benefit.
Yeah.
Could we put out a press release or something that says, hey, the lodging tax advisory board is gonna be working with Parks and Recreation in order to use the quality of life money to improve all of our parks around town and that kind of thing. That way they kind of see that money's being used to benefit them before we ask them for more.
Yeah, I think so. Anything we can do between now and November 1st or 2nd, whenever it is, that shows good use of lodging tax revenues, I think that's a great thing. I mean, even just saying that we're putting out this marketing and advertising RFP, that we're actively spending it to better the community, doing some upgrades to space to create perhaps, those types of things can definitely tie in well to us letting the public know that, we're really trying to use this money to help them.
Is it okay to speak to the Chronicle or anyone about this type of stuff,
I would have them go through Anissa.
Okay, go through Anissa?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I think that it's wise for us to plan like we're not gonna get the increase and hope for the best. That's pretty much where we're at on that one, right? I don't think there's much more to be said.
Yeah, I think that's it.
anything else anyone else wants to talk about, or things that we didn't cover, or needs to ask questions about, or? We went through a lot today.
Yeah. Good job, guys. You
A lot
guys
of
really
great
got
stuff.
a lot done.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have this, well, now it's gone.
It's on the other side.
That's broken down into what, a marketing agency wants to see. And you'll probably get more responses than that. I just heard the last one is very general, just because they didn't have the experience to even know the questions to ask or what they needed, So we've broken this down and made it simple and have a plan, and that's gonna be more appealing
Yeah.
to more and better firms.
Yeah.
I think also, being that we're also invested in improving the community as a whole, marketing the community as a whole, I think, we have some assets when we use that. I think this is out really well. I'm very, very pleased.
A lot of what we're doing, it's tourism and community development at the same time.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be a ton of work, and I appreciate everyone here. I really appreciate you and Joe, with y'all's expertise. Because let's be honest, we're planting trees that we're probably not all gonna be really able to sit under for a couple of years at least. Plant twigs right now.
Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah. I think that the more we can continue to do positive things and put things out in the community that, promote this as what it is. I've turned out as a beautiful community with kind people that deserve nice things.
Okay. Well, that's a great place to end it on.
Yeah.
Love that.
Shall we adjourn? Motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Let's do this.
Thank you all. I will, I'm gonna get you guys a draft, scope of work for the RFP, or at least get the last RFP scope of work so you can start looking at that before the next meeting.
Great.
And then I'm gonna try to take a crack at taking the goals you identified and putting those into goal statements to send out to you all as well. And certainly you can change those, but good stuff.
Maybe on our agenda, we can do a mission statement and goal.
Yeah, good idea.
Steve, can I set up a time to come see you?
Yes,